Good morning. This is Adam Smith with the Colorado Real Estate Finance Group, commercial and residential mortgage lending on Tuesday, July 28th. And yes, I know we're a day behind. I spent the weekend in the high country, and for those of you that are from Denver, we're in the Denver area, and it rivals the Southern California, Las Vegas interaction for those of you in those areas, and trying to get back from the mountains west of Denver back down to the city on a Sunday afternoon is just a nightmare. And for those of you in California or in Nevada know what it's like getting from Las Vegas back to Southern California, same kind of thing. So we decided to delay a day. But nonetheless, I'm here with your weekly zero-cost marketing and contact management tip. And yes, of course, if you'd like more information about the free classes I teach on contact management, zero-cost marketing, social media marketing, video blogging, don't hesitate to contact me or have your managing broker or title rep do that, as that seems to be how most of these classes are arranged. But it's great information for anyone who has a direct-to-consumer relationship, like realtors, mortgage brokers, insurance agents, financial planners, and so on. And I'm always happy to share the information. So let's talk about this week's tip. And we've talked about this before, and I certainly didn't come up with this or coin this phrase, but you need to know, you need to be reminded that there's no single transaction that can make your career, but it only takes one transaction to break it. And obviously in our Realtor Horror Stories segments, we talked about all kinds of strange things that we had seen going on because the market here is so insane. But the one that really strikes a chord with me right now that we're working on is where we've got a seller's agent who decided not to become a transaction broker, which is allowed here in Colorado, when dealing with a transaction where the tenant is buying the property from the landlord, but decided to remain the seller's representative, and then proceeded to tell our very nice, very young, very naive, first-time home buyers in a borderline threatening manner that if they decided they wanted to go get their own representation, that it was going to delay the process, that it was going to cost them thousands upon thousands of additional dollars, and that it would just be a mistake. Now, the funny thing about that is I assume he was referring to the fact that in order to compensate a buyer's agent or their commission, that there would have to be a higher purchase price on the house. Now, that may very well have been his intention, but of course the appraisal on that property has since come back and it wouldn't have appraised any higher, so there wouldn't have been enough wiggle room to compensate anymore, or certainly for a buyer's agent's commission. Now, my suspicion is that that is going to result in an ethics complaint against this particular agent. I would almost guarantee it. And granted, we all know, at least those of us here in Colorado, that the Division of Real Estate is behind on dealing with those complaints, but they will deal with them, and there will be repercussions for this agent. Now, will it necessarily cost him his license? I don't know. Will it certainly cost him a fine? Possibly. Is it worth not becoming the transaction broker and representing the transaction fairly? You've got an ethical, a sworn ethical obligation to deal fairly with all parties, and unfortunately that just has not been the case through the course of this transaction. Not just the onset where he was borderline threatening these people with higher costs and longer time frames and so on and so forth, but he has been less than pleasant to deal with for these poor kids through this entire process. So I don't know, I guess this week's tip is make sure that you're actually abiding by your sworn ethical promise to treat all parties fairly, to have fair dealings throughout the entire transaction, because this is going to end ugly in some manner for that particular agent. So please keep that in the back of your mind as you're walking through all of your transactions. Again, I know you all know this. I know that those of you that subscribe to this would never do something like that. However, we all need reminders of all the things that we talk about in these videos. So, there's this week's tip. Let's talk about this week's drawing, and we did have a winner last week. Very cool. And if you want to be this week's winner, then be the very next person to subscribe here to our YouTube channel, and we will track you down and send you off this week's prize. And no, it is still not a new car. All right, so that's really it for this week. Sorry for the delay. Remember this week's tip. Just perform in a manner that deals responsibly, kindly, ethically, responsibly for all parties. Remember, be the very next one to subscribe here to our YouTube channel to win this week's prize. Have an amazing week, a little shorter now that we're a day behind, and we'll see you next time. Bye.